It's the Power Couple, and today I'll be reacting and discussing the episode we just received, Destruction. So without further ado, let's begin. So we start off the episode with Marinette just waiting for Alia to come up when she clicks a tab on her computer and starts playing something from the Lady blog, in which Alia is discussing things about Monarch. But then Alia appears from the trapdoor and she says, "What are you doing?" But then Marinette just has to say that the video just launched by itself. Of course, Alia agrees with this and then just asks if she wants some fruit with her tea. And Marinette says, sure, why not? Marinette then goes back to the video in which Alia is warning Ladybug and Cat Noir to be super careful. And Marinette just has this worrisome look in her eyes. Then we see Gabriel talking to Emily again. He is then swearing his revenge on Ladybug that it will be the end of her once he gets his hands on the other Miraculouses. And he's discussing to the Kwamis that they have to help him, and specifically Oriko, since he grants the power to give whatever superpowers they want. Gabriel then asks him for the power of time travel, but Oriko can't do that because Fluff is the Kwami of evolution. Then Gabriel thinks, is he tricking him? But then Sass clarifies it. And Gabriel looks quite confused a bit. So then Shubu brings an example to help clarify, which does make more sense. But then Gabriel just looks a little bit annoyed, especially when he asks the power to locate Ladybug and Cat Noir's Miraculous. They deny it. And then they explain the difference between a wish and a power, which frankly is very funny. Oriko then explains a little bit more in depth of why he can't do that, and Gabriel just goes to say, "You're utterly useless," in which he is very offended because they're magical creatures who grant great powers. That is no way to talk to them. And the other Kwamis agree. And then they just start calling him a meanie. Great job, Kwamis. Gabriel then silences all of them, which is kind of sad, and brings back so many Sandboy vibes from back in season 2. But then he goes to explain that he doesn't actually need their powers. He just needs their knowledge of A, who Ladybug is, her secret identity, and B, where she lives. So Gabriel orders them to tell him the name, but all they can say is Ladybug because they can't reveal her secret identity. But Gabriel doesn't really know that, but it does make a lot of sense if he were to use his brain a little bit more. But when he goes to ask for the true identity, they just spit out those magical bubbles because of the spell. And then Sass goes to explain why they can't tell the real identity of the holder. But then Gabriel has a little game he's going to play with them. He's gonna ask them for her address, and unfortunately there are no rules prohibiting them from saying this. So then he goes to interrogate Ziggy. Poor Ziggy. And Ziggy just says, "Follow the smell of croissants." So then Gabriel unifies with Nuru, Kalki, Pollen, and Waze to go to the Dupan Chang Bakery, obviously because that's where the best croissants are. We then see Tom, Marinette's dad, baking some croissants while singing a song. And then his wife, Sabine, comes out asking, is the middle of the night the perfect time to make croissants? And then he explains, even though he's not a superhero, he can help to make less people akumatized by bringing joy to them. Honestly, I am proud of Tom. As they do say, a little bit of kindness can go a long way. We then see Marinette scrolling on her phone. But what do they post on the news? And she is just trying to think about something else. But how can she think about something else? Because there's nothing else to think about. And she's just beating herself up so hard. But Tiki, of course, always tries to calm her down. But This is Marinette. She doesn't calm down that easily. But then all of a sudden, both her and Tiki hear something. And it's Monarch. He's in her room. And she is shocked and probably scared to death right now. But even Monarch questions the Kwamis if they're actually sure. That means he doesn't really buy that Marinette is Ladybug, which is fantastic and a bit of a relief. The Kwamis then tell him he needs to ask Marinette for a present that Ladybug left her, which he does, and Marinette's like, oh, right. So she goes to get it carefully, even though she trips on her chair and does like a little tiny awkward ending of dance pose before she goes to get the object in which Monarch demands, which is the key. The Kwamis then explain to him why it's a key, because it's sort of like a little treasure hunt to find the address. And Marinette then explains to him how she came across the key and why Ladybug gave it to her. So then she just quickly goes to hand it to him because obviously she wants him to leave. But then Alia shows up and she is shocked. So shocked she drops the tray of tea, croissants, and fruit. But then Monarch goes to accuse her that she knows who Ladybug is, which she denies and then just starts filming Monarch on her blog. But then he just breaks her phone. So sad. He grabs the key, crushes the charm thing, and gets the number 42. And then the Kwamis explain the next clue, which leads to the ice rink. But then, oops, they just realize what they did without even noticing. He leaves, and then Alia just asks, so what did I miss? Classic. Monarch then appears at the ice rink, and Philip just slips and falls. And then Monarch demands him to take him to the lockers to whichever that key is for. And then he finds the next clue, which is for the Grevlin Wax Museum. But then Philip just has to take a selfie with Monarch, and Monarch does not look quite pleased about this. But then he shows up at the museum and demands to see the statue. So he goes, he finds that little slip of paper, but then it says half-wit. What on earth could that mean? But then Cat Noir just springs the trap and grabs his wrist while he activates his cataclysm. At the same time, Ladybug wraps her yo-yo around them, and she activates her lucky charm and gets a rope, I think, and then just completely ties up Monarch and throws him to the floor, which is hysterical. And then all the doors close, sealing them into a confined space so there's no way in and no way out. But then all of the Kwamis come out and just embrace her with a big hug. This is so cute, as it's sort of like seeing children reunite with their mother. And then they're so happy that they're going home. And they finally have a place that they can call home. It's so cute. But then we just see Cat Noir shush Monarch, which is hysterical. And then Monarch realizes he's cornered. He fell right into the trap, while Ladybug is explaining her big brain move of what she just did. And Cat Noir is just threatening, don't do it, because who knows what's going to happen if he cataclysms him. And then Ladybug was so close to retrieving the butterfly Miraculous, Gabriel just had to put Cat Noir's hand on his arm, and he just screams in terrible pain. As much as I do like seeing this, Cat Noir just freaks out and calls him completely crazy, 'cause he is. Why would he do this to himself? He then teleports back, probably into his lair, and all the poor Kwamis just are sucked through the portal. And now Ladybug is beating herself up so bad, 'cause she had him right there, and she had the Kwamis. They were right there as well. They were there with her, and now they're not. It's sort of as seeing a mother coming to the realization that that might be the last chance she ever got to see her children. At the same time, Cat Noir is just freaking out because he just cataclysmed a real life person, which he's never done before. And even though it was Monarch, there's a person behind the mask. Just wait till he finds out it was his father. He asks her to fix it, but she explains without the lucky charm, she can't. And then Cat Noir is just sort of pulling himself to the realization that that person's actually injured, and Ladybug can't do anything about it. And both of them just sit there, reeling in defeat. We then cut to Marinette and Alia, and we just see that whole scene, Marinette was explaining to Alia, and Alia seems pretty confused about the whole plan. So Marinette explains that she was always scared that Monarch might capture one of the Kwamis since she became guardian, and of course it was too dangerous to leave them out in the open. So she just had to find a way to cover her tracks, and she came up with a brilliant idea. And Marinette just explains that she never thought Monarch would appear at their sleepover, and then they just start giggling. 'Cause who wouldn't? It's funny. And then we see her making the little treasure hunt and how she asked and planned all of this out, which is extremely smart. We then see her talking to Cat Noir and somewhat explaining a little bit of the plan, but not exactly. And she does give him this little piece of paper. Note, this was when Gabriel was still a hawk moth, so before he became shadow moth or monarch. So I'm guessing near the end of season 3. But then Cat Noir reads the paper and finds it a little bit insulting. And then Ladybug just explains it's not exactly for him, but it's meant for a later time if something horrible were to occur, which is what we're seeing now. So then Alia just asks, Cat Noir has been carrying around that tiny piece of paper in his belt the entire time, so the entirety of season 4. Quite funny, I never noticed. But then she just envisions the Kwamis roaming around her room again in her head, and it's so sad. But we do see how she trained the Kwamis so if they were to be captured and asked the question, they couldn't give away her address because they don't know what an address is. And then we see how Ladybug and Cat Noir put their plan, the final steps of it in the museum, into motion, and how Ladybug was just a perfectionista and put Cat Noir really into position. She even fixed his ear, which was frankly really funny, until it was absolutely perfect, and all she had to do was hide behind a different statue and wait for Monarch. But then she goes to say that her plan failed, and Alia just reassures her because she is the best superhero. And then Marinette just asks, "You think?" And of course, Alia, being the supportive friend she is, encourages her with self-confidence. They will get the Kwamis back eventually. It'll just take a little bit of time. And that Monarch owes her a new cell phone, which is really funny. But I do love how Tiki just pops up and she looks so happy seeing Marinette has a little bit more confidence in her now, because only Tiki really knows what she's truly suffered. We then see a clip from Multiplication in which Adrien tells his father he doesn't want to be a model anymore. This leads me to believe that probably all of this happened before Adrien went to tell his father in Multiplication. We then get a glimpse of Gabriel's injury, and it looks nasty. I'm only hoping it doesn't spread to the rest of his body, which would make it twice as creepy. We then see him place the Fox Miraculous on some sort of technology platform and have whatever that's doing going on, and having all the other Miraculouses in those glasses or jars. But then we see he melted the Miraculous. How dare he? These are ancient jewels that have existed for centuries, since the beginning of time. You just don't go and melt these whenever you please. This is not how it works. I am so mad with him right now. We then see he and Mrs. Saruki are having a little meeting, and Miss Saruki is inspecting a ring, probably a little model or something, and then she hands him the briefcase, in which contains whatever that circle thing does or is called. And then he activates it on the what used to be Miraculous, and then turns it into a ring as well as the others. And he just keeps making more until he's done. And now he turned all of the Miraculouses of what they used to be pretty jewels into terrifying rings. And then all of the Kwamis are stuck in their cages. Please tell me you're not hurting them. Otherwise, I'm really going to start crying right now. We then see his transformation, and we do see that he didn't turn the butterfly Miraculous into a ring, thank God. But his costume is still extremely ugly, and it will give me nightmares forever, I swear to God. This dude is the world's famous fashion designer as #1. But as a supervillain, his outfits are a 0. Or in my perspective, a -0. And then we see him give a little warning to Ladybug and Cat Noir to watch out, because his reign is about to begin. And frankly, I don't want to be there to see it, because it's gonna end badly. I'm gonna say that. It will end badly. I'm not sure how bad. Maybe he captures her, but it's gonna end bad. And then it fades into the end card. I do quite like this end card. It is very summative in what we have just seen. Well, that's all I really have to say for this episode, guys. It wasn't really that hard-hitting as I originally thought, but I really did enjoy it. What do you guys think about the episode? Like it? Hate it? Not your favorite? Let me know in the comment section below. Jubilation will be airing next Monday now from Mundo Gloob. I will make a video about this explaining it further on Thursday. Well, I don't really have much more to say, but I do hope you hit that like button and subscribe button, and I send my infinite love to you all. I'll see you all next time. Bye!